first story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my rich parents that my lower class friends and their families are better people than they could ever dream of being? I'll start by saying that I'm a 17 male. Both my parents are very successful lawyers, and we live in a super nice house. They have given me everything I could ask for, but they're not exactly there for me emotionally. I can't even remember the last time we ate dinner together or had a decent conversation. Most of the time, they're not even home, and it's just me, and I feel like a ghost in my own house. We moved to a new town not too long ago, and my parents enrolled me in a more exclusive private school in the area. I've gone to private schools my entire life, but my experience at the school was horrible. I'm short, effeminate-looking, and very obviously gay. The only reason I didn't get my butt seriously kicked was because my parents are rich. I begged my parents to switch schools, but they were hesitant because the only other option was public schooling. I finally escaped a private school of circle jerking and enrolled in this new school. I guess I should mention that a few years ago, this school district expanded their enrollment zone to slightly cover a lower-income area, which resulted in a handful of students from low-income families being enrolled. My first few days at the school were brutal, with a lot of the same problems following me, until I ran into Garfield. It's a family name. I swear he's not named after a cat. He spoke up and said he would love to be my lab partner when no one else would. We quickly became friends, and he introduced me to his childhood friend also attending the school, named Eduardo. Since my parents are so distant to begin with, they never noticed me spending so much time with my new friends. Garfield's mother is a waitress, and his dad a construction worker. Eduardo's mother cleans houses, and his dad works odd jobs, such as driving for Uber. Both of their families are amazing and involved. Also, both Garfield and Eduardo have come over to my house about twice and met my parents. The other day, my mother pulled me over and casually mentioned that I was spending a lot of time with that blonde boy, Garfield, and a Hispanic kid. She asked what their families did and where they lived, and I told her. She immediately became upset and said I was aiming way below my abilities, and these were not the kind of influences I need in my life. I asked why, and she said we just live different types of lives, and I'll understand when I'm older. I freaked out and said both of them and their families have been there for me in the 6 months I've known them than my parents ever have, and that they're cold and feeling snobs. My mom started crying and said public school has changed me for the worst. I've never seen her cry before, and I'm starting to feel horrible. Am I the a-hole for saying they're rich hypocrites and that my friends' families are better? Now for the top comments. Wow, not the a-hole at all. I'm sorry your mom is hurt, but not being involved in her kid's life obviously has consequences. And being so judgmental of people with less money doesn't put her in a good light at all, especially if she's encouraging you to not be friends with people who've been so kind to you. I'm glad you have your friends. And full offense, I'm glad you're not a snob. Thanks for saying that. It just makes me so angry. She's judging them by their class and their parents' income level, and I feel like I can't do anything. Not the a-hole. I am sorry, but your family's now laying in the bed they created. Emotional involvement and basic body needs are completely irrelevant from each other. You cannot feed a dog by petting it, and you cannot make it friendly by dropping food randomly. Now, add the complexity of a human being on top of that, and the mistake is obvious. If I were you, I would say that your emotional needs are unmet, and the family needs a family counselor / child therapist, etc. If he/she is a professional, he will cut through your parents. Even if your friends were rich, it wouldn't change anything. Their class is irrelevant. You're not changing because of waitress profession. Give your parents a chance to fix this. That's a really good way of putting it. And I honestly think we do need help, but we don't really know how to relate to each other. I don't know. My dad is furious with me and not open to any discussion. Not an a-hole by a mile. Being an absent elitist parent is what caused their hurt feelings. Thinking that all you needed was their financial support is what made them a-holes. I'm sorry that your parents haven't been present and involved in your life, and I'm glad you found friends that you can enjoy the company of. Hopefully, your parents can see that they need to be more involved in you emotionally, but I doubt it. They'll likely try to separate you from what they consider bad influences. I hope they won't separate us, but I think they've been discussing it. But there's really no other place for me to go since their first school choice for me resulted in horrendous bullying. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for backing up my sister on a choice for child raising? So, as a bit of backstory, my sister plans to adopt. Somehow it came up in conversation that my mom will be happy to help their kid learn math since she helped so much with me and my sister. Well, my mom is not a very good teacher. By high school, my sister and I dreaded bringing home math homework because mom wanted to help. And she would lose her temper, mock us, make us do extra math problems if we weren't understanding it enough, swear, get angry that we didn't do it the second we got home, when she wasn't home lol. Say you should love this, and make us feel ashamed by saying, I could be doing this, but no. So as a result, we tried our hardest to get this done at school or without having to ask her. Unfortunately, she would often inject herself in to help if she saw us doing homework, and if we said, no, we got this, would not listen. My sister said, actually, you were a pretty big source of anxiety for me and my brother because of math. So I think it would be better if we handled it if our kid has chronic math problems. Mom was devastated. As soon as I came in, Mom asked if she really helped me out with math. I backed up my sister and explained that Mom caused a lot of anxiety to us. To the point I had legit panic attacks when Mom saw I was working in math problems in college. Well, I calmly explained that Mom was not a good math teacher, and she lost it. Reddit, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. It sounds like you both voiced this to your mom in a perfectly respectful way. Sounds like Mom needs a little more self-awareness. Mom needs to understand that her memories don't dictate other people's as well. Or her feelings. Just because she thinks she's the best math teacher and that they all had so much fun all those years, doesn't mean everybody feels that way. Or that they have to, / are wrong not to. That's a really self-centered and narcissistic thing to act on. I wonder if this is the only thing she projects and overshadows her experiences on, or if there are other instances in Opie's life that Mom invalidates memories and opinions about. I bet there is more. And Mom is probably going to bring them up and make a big deal out of every instance for a while. If my mother's any indication, be prepared, Opie. The storm may only have just started. Interestingly, I had a similar discussion with my mom. She did some things she was advised to do, however, the action to this day affects me. She for a bit refused to accept that regardless of anything else, or even if it was the best option, it still hurt me. She did apologize, which is a step forward for both of us. Hopefully, Opie's mom will realize regardless of how helpful she thought she was, she still hurt Opie and their sister. Not Dayhall. Don't ask questions you don't want to know the answer to. OMG, I tell this to my mother all the time. I warn her, hey, in all honesty, and then crap hits the fan. But better to be hurt by the truth than comforted by a lie. Also, not Dayhall. The mother needed to remove her narc blindfold. Not Dayhall. It's a bit astounding that she genuinely believed she was good when there was swearing and yelling involved. Next story. Am I the a-hole for blowing up on my stepdaughter for demanding the same expensive gift I got my daughter? So, due to a whole lot of TV show-worthy drama that's occurred in the last year, I now have a daughter who I never knew existed. It's a long story, and we don't have the word count for it, but I'll try to put in the information that's relevant. I'm 47 male, have 2 sons, 30, 27, and 1 daughter, Lila, 22. I met my daughter before quarantine began, and because of lockdown, she ended up living with me and my sons when my state shut down. So over this time, we got extremely close. My wife died about 10 years ago, and it's only recently, 2 years, that I started dating my now girlfriend, 47 female, Kate. Kate has a daughter, Abby, 22 female, who I've known since she was a child. But we are not married, and Abby has a father who has always had majority custody of her. I'm friendly with Abby the way a parent's friend would be, but we do not have a stepdaughter/stepfather relationship. Last week, it was Lila's birthday, and we decided to have a small get-together. A few family members and Kate/Abby. I decided to get Lila something she has been telling me about forever. She told me she has always wanted a charm bracelet, one where she gets new charm on special occasions, something that is meaningful. She has gone on and on about this, so I decided to get her one for her birthday. I ended up getting her a gold Tiffany charm bracelet with a gold locket charm that was engraved with her birthday and name, and inside was a picture of our little family. Her brothers also got her some gold charms that were also engraved with special messages. When she opened it, she cried, and it was a very touching moment for our family. Well, afterwards, Abby came to me and asked when she would get hers, since this is a family thing that all girls will get a charm bracelet. I let her know this was just a special present for Lila, but on her next birthday, I would get her a different bracelet, not charm bracelet. I thought that was it. Until later when Lila came to me crying that Abby tried to take her bracelet because she's more family than Lila is, and Lila didn't deserve a family gift because of this. I assured Lila that Abby was wrong, and she was my daughter and a very important part of our family. This is the part where I may be the a-hole. I took Abby aside and lost it. I told her she was not my daughter, and that she needed to leave Lila alone or she wouldn't be allowed over again. This, of course, made her mother upset, and they both think I'm the a-hole. Lila also feels really bad because of everything that happened. I'm okay with Abby thinking I'm an a-hole, but I don't want Lila to ever think that way of me. And everyone involved is biased, so I'm here to get an unbiased opinion. Now for the top comments. Not an a-hole. Abby isn't your daughter, and she just tried to steal your daughter's present and was horribly ugly to her. Her mother is wrong. Her daughter was wrong. Stand your ground. This. Please do your daughter a favor and don't subject her to Abby anymore. Abby could not have been more mean and childish. Abby isn't your family, and I hope for your children's sake she never is. Not an a-hole. Not an a-hole. First off, 22 is old enough to know that just because someone else gets something, it doesn't mean she is entitled to get one too. Second, Abby isn't family, at least not yet. You're dating her mother, not married to her, and that is on top of the fact that she has lived with her father most of the time and has very little relationship with you. Third, Abby had no right to try to take Lila's bracelet. Again, she is a freaking adult and should know better. Not an a-hole. The 22-year-old daughter of your girlfriend tried to steal your bracelet off the wrist of a member of your family. Abby, who you've known for all her life, suddenly has someone who's your real daughter appear in your life. It's understandable that might trigger jealousy without even getting to pandemic-constrained living conditions. But none of that is enough to excuse trying to rip a bracelet off someone else while telling her she's less member of the family. Your fury is understandable. It would have been better not to have gone to the "you're not my daughter" line. But hell, she's a 22-year-old adult who should be able to process the fact that she seriously provoked you. The pandemic-constrained living situation doesn't even apply here. I probably would have been more understanding if it had. I haven't seen or spoken to Abby since she was 13, since she lives all the way across the country. Her mother doesn't even live with us since our relationship is still new. What provoked me the most was that Lila had been having a hard time transitioning and figuring all of this out. Lila spent her last 21 years of life believing she had no family. It's been a lot of hard work and therapy reassuring her she has a family now. So for Abby to go and say something so cruel and uncalled for, when this is the first time I've seen her in 9 years, really provoked it worse than me. I just really needed to protect my daughter in that moment. The last story is titled, "Am I the a-hole for telling my stepmom I don't like it when she calls me her daughter?" So my dad has him, stepmom, her daughter 14 female, and me 16 female, in family therapy. We started going after almost 10 years of them being married because this is not the family they wanted. They wanted the stepkids to accept the step-parents as like equal parents, and they hoped it would all blend so well we would like be a nuclear family versus a blended one. But that has not happened because her daughter has an active and involved dad, while I just never wanted to call another woman my mom. And so, we're in therapy because it is very much like we're roommates instead of one family. And that's not an issue for us the kids, except maybe the siblings we share, but my dad and stepmom hate it. So the therapist asked us to say something we didn't like that each person does. And while we were doing it, I said I hate it when my stepmom calls me her daughter because it makes me uncomfortable. This led to being asked why, and I said because I didn't think of her as my mom, and it felt like I was being pushed to reciprocate the feeling. This has been an issue ever since. The same with her daughter saying she hates when my dad tries to spend time with her because she already has a dad. Her mom had a huge issue with her saying that. But yeah, apparently what I said was really mean and hurts her feelings. And I'm trying to dictate what she says when I say something like that in therapy, which is toxic and abusive. So I don't know. Trying to find out what others think. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She's not your mom, and you're allowed to feel how you feel about it. Therapy is one place where you're supposed to be able to freely express yourself. It is pretty a-hole-ish of them to try to make you feel bad about it. Exactly. Even if it was toxic, which it isn't. Therapy is the right place to say it because the therapist can mediate and help turning it into the right direction and away from being toxic. The parents are just hurt, and I think Opie should tell the therapist exactly what happened after the last session. Not the a-hole. Your feelings are entirely valid in this case. Just because some people might react differently, and just because your father and stepmother wants things to be different, doesn't make your feelings wrong or even extreme. It is also of concern that you are being judged for something said honestly in a therapeutic context. But that takes me to the key point. I think this belongs in therapy and not in the hands of Reddit strangers. Can you erase this in your next therapy session? And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe.